A lot of people want to win the lottery, and it may seem like they've got it all planned out when they win the prize money. But the way they end up only proves one thing: it was a dumb move. Here are the absolute dumbest lottery winners of all time. Number 1. William Post. William's $16.2 million jackpot in 1988 came from selling a ring for $40. His terrible money management, including a stint in jail for cashing bad checks, foreshadowed his misfortune. Within 84 days, he spent it all on a boat, restaurant lease, car lot, jet, and mansion. His ex-girlfriend sued, winning a third, leaving him only $5.4 million. With a frozen bank account he couldn't pay. Arrested for assault, he served time. And by his 7th marriage, yes, 7th, he was over $1 million in debt, surviving on food stamps and a $450 job. Yet his story isn't the craziest lottery win story. Number 2. Jose Antonio Cuatac. From tossing a £3 million lottery ticket into the trash to blowing through a $16 million prize in just 90 days, Jose Antonio Cuatac, for instance, nearly forfeited his entire $750,000 jackpot from 2010. Living in the U.S. illegally, Jose enlisted his boss to claim the prize due to fears of legal repercussions and deportation. Initially, this arrangement seemed successful until his boss claimed to be the rightful ticket owner. Faced with a precarious situation and armed with security footage of his ticket purchase, Jose took legal risks to contest his boss's claims. Although he reclaimed his prize, hefty taxes, legal fees totaling $250,000, a drunk driving arrest, and subsequent deportation to Guatemala quickly diminished his winnings. Number 3. Denise Rossi. Then there's Denise Rossi, who won $1.3 million in 1996, and fearing her husband would claim the prize, filed for divorce just 11 days post-win, without disclosing her newfound wealth. This lack of transparency backfired spectacularly during the divorce proceedings. Her decision to keep the winnings secret and hastily file for divorce, while strategic, ultimately unraveled in an unexpected twist of fate. The consequences were severe. Not only did she lose the entire prize to her ex-husband, but she was also burdened with significant legal costs, leaving her financially worse off than before her lottery win. Number 4. Evelyn Adams. Evelyn Adams earned the title of the luckiest woman in America when she defied astronomical odds to win the lottery twice, first snagging $3.9 million in October 1985 and then an additional $1.4 million just 4 months later. With the odds of such a feat at about 1 in 17.3 trillion. She began investing her winnings in various enterprises, including the convenience store where her lucky tickets were purchased, which seemed like a prudent decision at the time. However, Evelyn's unresolved gambling addiction led her away from the lottery and towards the casinos of Atlantic City. The financial drain from her casino losses led to the failure of her businesses, and by 2012, Evelyn found herself living in a trailer park. Number 5. Callie Rogers. At just 16, Callie Rogers won over £1.8 million and initially promised prudence, aspiring to help her family and live comfortably without lavishness. Despite her intentions, Callie quickly deviated, indulging in 2 boob jobs costing £11,500, spending £300,000 on clothes, makeup, and tattoos, and purchasing high-end sports cars for £85,000. She splurged £250,000 on extravagant vacations, gifted £118,000 to ex-boyfriends, and lost £190,000 in unreturned loans to friends and family. She also spent £50,500 on legal fees while still in high school, and ended up on welfare with only £2,000 left. Number 6. Martin Toth. Martin Toth and his wife Kay faced a heartbreaking lottery saga when they won £3 million in 2001, only to discover the win much too late. They'd bought the ticket casually and forgotten about it, only realizing their fortune when news of an unclaimed prize surfaced over 6 months later. However, by then, the ticket was nowhere to be found. Camelot's rules require lost tickets to be reported within 30 days, a detail the couple missed, and after a lengthy 45-day deliberation, they were ultimately denied the prize. The strain of the situation took a toll on their 2-year marriage, leading to constant bickering and eventually a separation with Kay moving out. Number 7. Andrew Jackson Whitaker. Jack Whitaker's life transformed after winning $315 million in 2002, although he was already successful with a $17 million net worth from his construction company. Since he was rich, Whitaker thought that donating 10% to churches, establishing a foundation, and giving gifts to the store clerk who sold him the ticket was a good way to spend his fortune. It was, until thieves visited him regularly. He lost his daughter and granddaughter and got a divorce. He then had to reflect and admit that money doesn't equate to happiness, and expressed a wish to undo it all. Number 8. Lee Ryan. Lee Ryan's life changed dramatically in 1995, when, from the desperation of public housing in Brownston, England, he won a £6.5 million lottery jackpot. His celebration was short-lived as he was soon imprisoned for car theft, earning him the nickname Lotto Lag. Once released, Ryan indulged in a lavish lifestyle, marrying in an opulent ceremony, purchasing a lakeside mansion, a fleet of luxury cars with custom plates, a private plane, Ducati superbikes, and a helicopter. However, his lack of business sense led him to squander over £2 million on unsuccessful ventures. Moving abroad, his spending spree continued until he was left living alone and penniless in a rented flat in South London. Number 9. Michael Carroll. Michael Carroll was only 19 with a record of petty crimes when he unexpectedly won £10 million in the UK National Lottery. Rather than turning his life around, the windfall amplified his reckless tendencies. He gained fame, purchased a mansion, and was notorious for his lavish parties and destructive backyard demolition derbies, which frequently attracted police attention. Ultimately, Carroll squandered all his winnings, resulting in the loss of his mansion, living in the woods, and finally working at a cookie factory to earn $300 a week. Number 10. Americo Lopez. Americo Lopez, a construction worker from New Jersey, withheld a $24 million lottery win from his workplace pool, opting to keep the entire sum for himself. He concocted a plan to quit his job under the guise of foot surgery, then collected his winnings and went on a spending spree. Lopez splurged on a mansion, luxury cars, lavish gifts, and extravagant trips. However, his former colleagues uncovered the truth and sued him. Ultimately, a jury ruled that Lopez must share the winnings, costing him $4 million per member. His selfishness left him with far less than his initial windfall. Number 11. Elisha Battle. Elisha Battle, with a criminal record, falsely claimed a $162 million lottery win in 2003 after realizing she had a losing ticket. She garnered sympathy by pretending to have lost the winning ticket and even filed a police report. Meanwhile, the actual winner, Rebecca Jemison, quietly sought financial advice before claiming her prize. Battle attempted to thwart Jemison's win by filing another false police report, but was exposed when Jemison produced the ticket's purchase receipt. Battle faced charges for her deceit and was sentenced to jail, a consequence of her dumb attempt to cheat the system. Number 12. Christina Goodenow. There's a saying, never buy lottery tickets with someone else's money, especially not with a stolen credit card from a deceased person. Yet that's exactly what Christina Goodenow did in 2005 when she won the Oregon $1 million lottery using her late boyfriend's mother's credit card. She won and claimed her prize, but was soon investigated by the Lottery Commission. Though she was sentenced only to mandatory probation, Goodenow had to forfeit her entire lottery winnings to the Medford Police Department, paying a steep price for her misdeeds. Number 13. Justin Ryder. Justin Ryder, an adult who didn't quite grasp the consequences of reckless actions, became fixated on emulating a scene from the film Austin Powers, Goldmember. After winning $600,000, Ryder decided to gold-plate his private parts. He first used lead-based paint, lured by its shiny appearance rather than its content. Experiencing discomfort, he didn't remove the toxic paint, but instead applied a layer of genuine gold-infused paint over it. Tragically, he died from lead poisoning, something that wouldn't have happened if he'd never won any money. Number 14. Gerald Muswagon. Gerald was a Canadian who turned a $2 lotto ticket into a $10 million fortune in 2011 and quickly saw his life spiral out of control. He purchased a house that became a nightly party hub, attracting an entourage that drained his winnings through endless celebrations, extravagant gifts, and multiple vehicles. His lavish lifestyle led to numerous legal problems. Within just a few years, Gerald's fortune dwindled, leaving him performing manual labor on a farm to support his girlfriend and 6 children. Frustrated, he took his own life in his parents' garage. The same lottery curse also took the next unfortunate winner on this list. Number 15. Amanda Clayton. Amanda Clayton, a young woman in her early 20s, was relying on state welfare and food stamps when her luck turned. She won $1 million from Michigan's Make Me Rich lottery. However, instead of using this windfall to transform her life, Amanda made a grave error and continued to claim welfare benefits. Her deceit was uncovered when a local news outlet noticed she was still receiving public assistance years after her win. The situation escalated to court, where Amanda faced legal consequences, receiving 9 months probation and a fine. Tragically, she died from a drug overdose a year later. Number 16. Tondalyn Dickerson. A group of waitresses who had formed a bond over the years in a Waffle House were tipped by a regular customer with lottery tickets under the condition of a shared prize and a new truck for him if they won. Well, they won, hitting the jackpot of $10 million. However, one of them, Tonda, holding the winning ticket, reneged on the agreement, betraying her friends. The waitresses sued but lost, prompting the ticket buyer to seek justice, which he also lost. She then thought that forming a corporation would safeguard her wealth, but instead she triggered gift tax liabilities, costing her $1 million and subsequently all the money. Number 17. Sharon Tirabassi. In 2004, Sharon Tirabassi hit the jackpot, winning $10.5 million in Canada's Lotto Super 7. Caught up in newfound wealth, she indulged in lavish spending, vacations, cars, houses, and generous handouts. Her lifestyle overhaul seemed unchecked, as if the funds were infinite. However, by 2013, the reality of her dwindling fortune hit hard. The money had evaporated, leaving her commuting by bus to a part-time job to support her children. She wasn't the only one to squander her wealth. Number 18. Laura and Roger Griffiths. Laura and Roger Griffiths saw their marriage crumble less than 10 years after winning a $2.19 million lottery jackpot. Roger chased his rock star dreams, spending hefty sums on his band's album, while Laura indulged in the luxury lifestyle, splurging on exotic cars, a $1 million home, designer wear, and private schooling for their daughter. The couple also sunk a fortune into a salon, where Laura eventually worked as an employee to scrape by. Ultimately, their lavish spending left them with less than $10 and a broken marriage. The next winner had everything he could dream of, yet still found a way to lose it all. Number 19. Daniel Carley. This young man's life took a dramatic turn when he won $5 million from an Ontario lottery ticket. Initially, it seemed like a dream come true. He was engaged, expecting a child, and co-owned a bar with his father, where he celebrated his win in grand style. However, the celebration didn't end there. It stretched into a decade-long spree. Daniel shockingly spent about $1 million on drugs over the following years. When his money dwindled, he turned to trafficking narcotics to sustain his lifestyle, which eventually landed him in prison. Do you think Daniel's story is the worst? Wait until you hear about the next winner. Number 20. Alex Toth. Alex Toth's tale of lottery fortune turned to misfortune began when he won $13 million from the Florida lottery in 1990. Initially living a life of luxury, his financial mismanagement soon led him to financial ruin. His extravagance resulted in not only depleting his fortune, but also in a divorce and legal troubles, including charges for filing false tax returns. His later years were marked by a stint in a mental institution, where he later passed away penniless at 60 in 2008. Number 21. Ken Proxmire. Ken Proxmire thought he had it all figured out when he won a $1 million jackpot from the Michigan State Lottery in 1977. Opting for annuity payments of $50,000 a year for 14 years. Yet the seemingly prudent choice didn't safeguard his wealth. Living beyond his means, Ken indulged in houses, businesses, cars, and lavish outings with friends. His investments floundered, with one venture plunging into 60 grand of debt, dwarfing his annual payouts. His rueful advice to other winners? Crawl into a hole and pull the top in. Number 22. Lou Eisenberg. Lou Eisenberg struck it rich in 1981, winning a record $5 million jackpot in New York, the largest lottery payout in the state at that time. But his windfall didn't bring the fortune he might have hoped for. Instead of investing wisely, Lou gambled away much of his winnings. The remainder went to settling debts with his ex-wives. Last reported, he was living modestly in a mobile home. It seems Lou's misfortune was less about superstition and more about poor financial decisions. Yet, as we've seen, not all tales of lost fortunes end without a chance for redemption. Number 23. Curtis Sharp. Curtis Sharp won $5 million in the New York lottery in 1982. Unfortunately, his story was one of the rags to riches and back again. From trips to the casino, reckless spending on sports cars, and lavish gifts on friends and relatives, Curtis saw his fortune disappear. According to him, other winners should walk away and clear their heads before spending any of their winnings. That's a pretty positive story, considering he lost his winnings. But the next story on this list is one of the worst. Number 24. John Roberts. In 1998, John Roberts, a resident of government housing in Scotland, hit the jackpot of 3.1 million British pounds, approximately 5.1 million US dollars. With such a windfall, the possibilities seemed endless for someone who had previously known financial hardship. However, Roberts' fortune quickly vanished as he spent a lot in supercars and sprawling mansions. His story took a turn for the worse when so-called friends deceived him into making poor investment choices, draining what remained of his wealth. Within just 3 years, Roberts found himself destitute, living in an old mobile home. While his friends absconded with his last pennies, Roberts himself never made any meaningful use of his riches. Number 25. Lisa Arkand. In 2004, Lisa from Massachusetts won $1 million lottery and was trying to do everything right, but quickly fell into the common trap of extravagant spending. She bought a home, took several lavish vacations, and even hosted a pricey dinner for friends, wasting $200 on bottles of wine. Lisa's desire to maintain this upscale lifestyle led her to enroll her son in a prestigious school and deck out her home with costly furnishings. To sustain her financial status, she opened a restaurant, despite having no experience in business or the food industry. Unfortunately, the restaurant floundered, leading to its closure and the depletion of her fortune by 2007. Lisa's story shows that sticking to what you know is often wise advice. Number 26. Janet Lee. In 1993, South Korean immigrant Janet Lee won $18 million in the Illinois lottery. Just 8 years later, she filed for bankruptcy with less than $700 in the bank and debts amounting to $2.5 million. What happened? Well, her generosity led her to donate significant amounts to educational, political, and social causes, including $1 million to Washington University for a new library. Her financial downfall wasn't due solely to charity. Janet also had a gambling habit, costing over $300 grand annually. By 2001, her fortune was gone, but her contributions had made a lasting impact. It was still a dumb move. A dumber move is this next story. Number 27. James Hayes. In 1998, James Hayes, an overnight security guard, won $19 million in California's Super Lotto. His life quickly spiraled out of control after his ex-wife took half of his winnings. Hayes developed a costly heroin habit, spending $1,000 weekly, which led him to rob banks to support his addiction. Dubbed the PT Cruiser Bandit by the FBI due to his car and the Seasoned Bandit for his gray hair, Hayes' criminal activities caught up with him. In 2018, he pleaded guilty to bank robbery and was sentenced to 33 months in prison. By then, he had squandered all his lottery winnings. If there's such a thing as a lottery curse, then James and this next story portrays it perfectly. Number 28. Joseph Ronchioli. Joseph and E.B. Ronchioli were already pretty wealthy when E.B. won $5 million in a 1991 lottery. They were known as a happy elderly couple to their neighbors. Joseph and E.B.'s seemingly comfortable life unraveled dramatically after Joseph discovered that Ebe had squandered their life savings on alcohol and gambling. To make matters worse, she won $5 million in the lottery and secretly gave it all to a son from a previous relationship, refusing to share any with Joseph. Tragedy struck when Ebe was found unconscious at home. An autopsy later revealed she had been poisoned. Although Joseph, a doctor, claimed he was merely monitoring her health due to her addictions, prosecutors didn't buy his story. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison, turning their saga into a story ripe for a Netflix drama with its dark twists and turns. Number 29. Lawrence Candlish. Lawrence Candlish hit the jackpot with a massive $9 million win from the UK National Lottery in 1997. But he didn't just spend his fortune, he also got into legal trouble abroad. Initially spending so much on sports cars and houses for himself and friends, Lawrence moved to Spain, where his spending spree continued with risky investments. However, his most significant error wasn't the lavish expenditures, but continuing to collect UK social benefits while living as a millionaire in Spain. These benefits, intended for those struggling financially, landed him a suspended sentence for benefits fraud when authorities caught on to his scheme. And finally, on the dumbest lottery wins of all times is this next story of David. Number 30. David Lee Edwards. 5 years after David Lee Edwards from Kentucky hit the jackpot, he was penniless, living in a storage shed with his much younger wife, whom he was 19 years older than. The couple quickly squandered their fortune on luxury cars, a mansion, and a plane, spending $3 million in just 3 months and over $12 million by the end of the first year. Their excessive lifestyle led them down a path of drug addiction, and just 12 years after their windfall, they lost their house to foreclosure. David died broke in 2013 at a hospice at age 58, and years later, his wife was arrested for stabbing a boyfriend. If this isn't a pure example of a lottery curse, then what is? In all these stories, so many things went wrong, and there are a million opinions on what they could have done right. So what do you think you would have done differently if you'd won the lottery? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.